Before Olympus, giants ruled creation. This is how their golden reign fell into chains. Every crown in this world is torn from a father by his own child, and tonight that wheel begins to turn. Before the wheel, before the gods, there is only darkness, wide and patient and waiting to be filled. No light, no shape, no name, only the great hush before all things begin. Then the darkness stirs, and out of it rises Gaia, the earth, vast and breathing and alone. She spreads herself beneath the empty void, mountains rising like slow shoulders, valleys opening like held breath. From her own body she lifts the sky, and Uranus unfurls above her, endless and starlit. He settles over her like a lid of glittering dark, and earth and sky become one. Where they touch, the young world quickens, and Gaia feels the first stirrings of children within her. The firstborn comes strong and beautiful, the Titans, tall as storms and bright as new metal. Rivers learn their courses, forests climb the young hills, and the world fills with restless, growing life. Oceanus pours out as the first great river, circling the world with a silver, restless embrace. Themis rises calm and clear-eyed, order itself walking newborn across the trembling ground. Sky looks down on his golden children and, for a while, the proud king is pleased. But Gaia carries more than beauty, and the next to come are shaped from older, stranger clay. The Cyclopes arrive, giant and grim, a single burning eye set in each broad brow. In that one eye lives thunder, the raw white fire that will one day arm a god. Then come the 100-handers, mountains that move, 100 arms swinging from each colossal frame. 50 heads turn toward their father, waiting for the welcome that every child expects. Uranus looks at them, and something cold and narrow closes over his starlit face. He sees not suns but omens, strength too vast for a king who means to rule forever. Fear wears the mask of disgust, and the sky decides these children will never see his light. One by one, he seizes the monstrous newborns and pushes them back down into their mother. Deep beneath the surface, he buries them, far below root and river and stone. The earth closes over them like a fist, and the young world swallows its own children. Inside Gaia, the buried ones stir, and their cries rise through her flesh with no way out. The sound never stops, a low grief moving in her bones like a tide that cannot ebb. Gaia carries a nursery turned to prison, every hidden voice a needle in her side. Each breath is a weight, each hidden child a stone pressed against her aching heart. Above her, Uranus sails on, cold and satisfied, deaf to the sorrow he has made. He wears his crown-like armor, certain no power beneath him will ever rise. Season after season she endures him, and season after season the buried children grow. But Gaia is the ground he stands on, and the ground remembers everything. Her pain does not fade. Slowly, in the dark, it changes shape. Grief cools and settles and hardens, the way molten rock becomes unbreakable stone. In the deepest hollow of herself, Gaia stops weeping and begins to think. She reaches into her own hidden veins and draws out gray adamant, cold and gleaming. From it, she shapes a great curved blade, an edge the sky has never imagined. It hums with a hunger of its own, waiting for a hand willing to use it. The sickle waits in her hands, patient and terrible, a promise wrapped in silence. Then she calls her children together, the Titans, in a chamber far below the light. She shows them the wound their father made and the weapon she has forged in answer. One question moves through the dark. Which of you is brave enough to strike? Silence. The mighty Titans lower their eyes, and not one of them dares to move. Then, from the back of the chamber, a single figure steps into the faint gray light. One child says yes to the blade. The figure is young, the youngest of them all, and his name is Cronus. Behind him, 11 siblings hold their breath as Gaia turns to face her children once more. In her hands, she carries something new, a blade of gray stone curved like a crescent moon. She forged it in the deep places of herself, in a heat that no fire could ever match. Unbreakable and patient, the weapon has been waiting in the dark for this single moment. This is the sickle, the first blade ever made, and it was shaped for one purpose alone. Its curve is honed to a whisper made not for the harvest, but for a single cut. Gaia lifts it into the dim gray light, and the Titans see its edge and shrink away. For she has told them what it must do, that their father must be stopped tonight. Far above them, Uranus reigns, the sky itself, cold and endless and without a shred of mercy. He has pressed his children down into the dark, refusing to let a single one of them rise. Gaia has felt them all trapped within her, and the weight has become a slow, endless agony. She loves the cruel one still, yet she cannot bear her children weeping in the dark. So she has made her choice, and she looks from face to face and she asks, "Which of you is brave enough? Which of you will carry this blade against the sky?" Oceanus lowers his eyes and says nothing, the eldest of them, and the first to turn away. One reaches halfway toward the sickle, then falters and pulls his hand back into the gloom. Another turns his broad back completely, unwilling even to look upon the terrible gray edge. One by one, the great Titans step backward into shadow, their courage failing them at the edge. They fear the sky. They fear what comes after. They fear becoming the thing they would destroy. For if a son can strike down a father, then one day a son might strike at them. The chamber grows colder, and Gaia's arm trembles beneath the weight of the blade and her hope. And then, at last, the young one begins to move through the heavy silence toward her. Cronus crosses the floor, and every footstep echoes in the emptiness his brothers have left behind. He is not the strongest. He is not the eldest. He is only the one who stays. He stops before his mother and looks down at the gray blade resting in her open hands. Something passes between them, a promise, a hunger, a door swinging slowly open in the dark. Gaia searches his young face and finds no fear there, only a terrible and quiet certainty. In his eyes, she sees hunger, the first hunger for a throne that is not yet his. She holds the sickle out toward him, and the gray stone catches the faint light and gleams. For a long moment, neither of them moves, and the whole world seems to lean in close. Then Cronus reaches out, and his fingers close slowly around the cold gray stone of the blade. It is colder than he ever imagined, and yet it fits his hand as though always his. He feels its weight settle into him, and with that weight comes something new, ambition. In this instant, the youngest child becomes something more, a son who will unmake his own father. This is the moment the wheel first begins to turn, a father undone by his youngest son. His siblings watch from the dark, and they see it too, the shape of what is coming. Gaia leans close and tells him where to hide, and tells him exactly when to strike. When the sky descends at dusk to meet the earth, Cronus must be waiting in the shadow. Cronus nods but does not speak, and only tightens his young grip upon the waiting sickle. The earth holds its breath, and even Gaia wonders now what she has set into motion. Far above, unknowing, Uranus turns toward the world below as the last of the light fades. The trap is set. The blade is drawn. The first night of a long war has come. Cronus slips back into the darkness to wait, and high above him, the sky begins to fall. From that wound, terror and beauty are born. High above the world, Uranus sinks toward Gaia, certain the darkness below holds nothing but her. he does not see the shape folded into the black shadow of the mountains, waiting. Cronus crouches low, the blade of gray adamant cold and heavy against his palm. His heart hammers hard. Fear and hunger war inside him. Tonight, he becomes something new. The sky settles over the earth, vast and unsuspecting, and the distant stars dim to watch. Cronus rises from the dark. One motion, one breath he has held for 1,000 years. The blade sweeps upward in a single arc of pale cold fire, and the heavens flinch. A silent flash swallows the mountaintop. The father of the sky is unmade in a heartbeat. Uranus recoils, torn loose at last from the earth he has crushed for endless ages. He reels backward across the void, a wound of red light spreading slowly through the dark. From that falling ruin, motes of ember rain down and strike the waiting soil below. Where each spark lands, the ground splits open, and something ancient begins to climb free. The Furies rise first, wreathed in coiling shadow, their eyes burning with an old vengeance. They are born knowing a single purpose: punish the child who raises a hand against his father. Behind them, the giants heave up from the cracked and steaming earth, armored in stone. Taller than mountains, they turn their vast faces toward the trembling sky and begin to roar. But not everything that falls strikes the land. Some of the ruin drifts out toward the sea. Down it spirals, a soft pale glow sinking slowly into the endless gray water. The waves close over it, and for one long moment the whole ocean holds its breath. Then the surface begins to churn, and a widening ring of white foam spreads across it. From the froth, a shape begins to rise, gentle where everything else tonight has been: violence. Aphrodite lifts from the sea, crowned in glimmering foam, impossibly calm and impossibly bright. Beauty, born out of ruin, the first soft thing in a world only now learning cruelty. She drifts toward a far shore while behind her the wounded sky still shudders and convulses. High above it all, Uranus gathers what remains of himself and flees upward, away from Earth. He climbs into the farthest dark, to the place where Gaia can never reach him again. The sky and the earth are parted now, forever, and neither one will forget this night. But Uranus does not leave in silence. From the freezing heights, his voice falls like frost. He names his children. Titans, he calls them, the straining ones, the ones who overreach. The word settles over Cronus and his kin like a shroud they will never shed. A curse takes shape in the cold, thin air, patient and certain, meant to outlast them all. What you have done to me this night, your own children will one day do to you. The wheel has turned once, it will turn again. A father falls, and a son rises. Then the voice fades to nothing, the sky hangs empty, and the cold stars burn alone. Far below, Cronus stands over a conquered world, the blade hanging loose in his hand. He is king now, the first king of all, and the throne is finally, terribly his. Gaia watches her youngest son from the dark, and something in her ancient gaze has changed. She gave him the blade to free her buried children. He has not freed them at all. Deep beneath the earth, the Cyclopes and the 100-handers still lie chained in the black. Their mother listens for the sound of breaking chains and hears only a new king breathing. Cronus has won his war and taken his crown in a single, terrible night. But a king who breaks his first promise has already, without knowing it, begun to fall. For a while, the world knows no sorrow. The morning after the war, the sky hangs quiet for the first time in an age. Cronus climbs the empty throne of the world, and slowly, deliberately, he sits. The crown is his now. Below, the mountains and rivers wait to learn what king he will be. He calls his brothers and sisters down from the hills and gives each a corner of creation. Oceanus takes the endless rivers. Themis takes law and the slow turning of the seasons. The world settles into order, the way water finds its level, quiet and sure. Then Cronus turns to his sister Rhea, calm where he is restless, steady where he is quick. He takes her hand and makes her his queen beneath a sky no longer ruled by fear. They stand together, and the earth itself seems to lean toward them, and the golden age begins. Something changes in the ground itself. The soil gives up wheat without ever feeling the plow. Fruit hangs heavy on branches no one planted. Rivers run clear and warm through green valleys. No one labors, no one hungers. The whole world feeds from Gaia's open, generous hand. Bees drift between endless blossoms. Herds graze in meadows that never brown or die. There is no winter. The seasons hold their breath in an endless, gentle spring. Flowers do not wilt, the old do not grow frail. Time moves, but softly. Men and creatures live without walls, without locks, because there is nothing left to fear. No armies gather, no borders are drawn. The strong do not prey upon the weak. Death still comes, but gently now, the way a candle lowers itself into the dark. A life ends without pain, without dread, and so even ending loses its old terror. Children are born into a world that has never taught them the meaning of suffering. From his high throne, Cronus watches it all, the great king who ended fear. The people sing his name into the warm air, certain the ancient wheel has stopped. They call it the Age of Gold, and they call Cronus the kindest king of all. They believe this peace will last forever. They do not see the king's clouded face, because peace, it turns out, is a poor and useless cure for a guilty conscience. Cronus remembers a promise, sworn in the dark before his war ever began. He had vowed to free his mother's lost children, chained deep beneath the earth. The Cyclopes and the 100-handers, buried in a prison of stone and shadow. He looks at his golden world. He looks toward the far mountains, and he leaves them there. They are too strong, he tells himself, too strange. No king rules beside monsters. And so the promise stays broken, folded away where he need never look at it. Deep below, Gaia feels the betrayal settle into her like a cold, patient splinter. Her golden gift still flows, but her eyes have turned to ice toward her son. And Cronus feels it. Even on the softest days, a small chill finds him. It is not the chill of the wind. It is something colder coming from inside. He cannot name it. He has everything. He has won. And still it lingers. Then, one silent night, the words come back to him. Not his mother's words, his father's. A curse spoken into the dark in the last moment of the old king's fall. A son who seizes his father's throne by force will lose it the very same way. A child of Cronus will rise one day and cast his own father down. The same wheel that lifted him will turn again and grind him under in his turn. The king sits up in the blackness. The vast palace is silent around him. Rhea sleeps softly beside him. Below, his whole golden world dreams on unaware. And for the first time, Cronus is afraid of a thing that does not yet exist. He has ended fear for the whole world and kept the last of it for himself. He looks at Rhea and thinks of the children they will one day make together. And the small, cold dread inside him begins, very quietly, to grow. A father's fear devours everything. The dread has a voice now, and it whispers to him in the ancient language of the earth. Cronus sits upon the throne of the whole world, the stolen crown cold against his young brow. The sky obeys him, the seasons bend to his will, and still, at night, he cannot rest. Gaia comes to her son, the whole earth leaning close, her voice old as the deepest stone. She has watched this exact story unfold once before, and she knows precisely how it must end. Far above, Uranus fades along the cold rim of the sky, and he too begins to speak. A child of your own will rise against you. A child of your own will pull you down. Exactly as you tore me from this throne, exactly as the wheel has always turned before. Cronus feels the solid ground tilt beneath him, though the great throne itself has not moved. The words sink into him like frost sinking into a root, slow, patient, impossible to draw out. Now every shadow in the vast palace wears the shape of a son he has not yet met. He scans the horizon for an enemy who does not exist, not yet, not for long years, and there beside him is Rhea, warm and gentle, carrying the quiet future within her body. She dreams of small hands and first cries, of children to fill these enormous silent halls. But he looks at her changing shape and sees only the prophecy quietly growing inside her. The night the first child comes, the whole palace holds its breath and the torches burn low. Rhea cradles a daughter wrapped in soft light, Hestia, new and warm and utterly unafraid. For one single heartbeat, there is only love. A mother bent low over a glowing bundle. Then Cronus steps out from the dark, and his long shadow falls across the tiny flame. He lifts the child high. Rhea reaches out. The great hall goes suddenly silent and cold. The light of the newborn vanishes down into his shadow, and the little cradle stands empty. He believes the danger is safest kept inside him, close and dark, where no crown can grow. But the great wheel does not stop turning for a father's fear. Soon, another child is coming. Demeter arrives with the green smell of ripening fields, a daughter warm as the summer earth. Rhea holds her close and hopes, foolishly, tenderly, that this time, everything will be different. It is not. The shadow returns without a word. The light of the second child is gone. Then comes Hera, bright and fierce even in her very first hour, born into a fading hope. Cronus does not hesitate anymore. The swallowing has become a thing he simply, coldly does. Then Hades, quiet and solemn, drawn down into the same patient, waiting dark as the others. Then Poseidon, restless as a rising tide, taken before he ever glimpses the open sea. 5 times a cradle is filled with light. 5 times a father empties it into himself. Rhea walks the empty nurseries where no small cries echo back, only her own slow footsteps. She has given him 5 children now, and she holds not one of them in her arms. Grief hardens inside her slowly, the way still water hardens into a long blade of ice. She watches her husband upon his throne, flinching at shadows, ruling a wide kingdom of fear. And slowly, she begins to understand the terrible truth that he cannot see from up there. He is not escaping the prophecy at all. He is feeding it, child by swallowed child. Every single act of fear only sharpens the blade that one day will surely find him. Then, deep inside her, a 6th child stirs, and this time, Rhea makes a different choice. She will not surrender this one, not to the shadow, not to her husband's endless fear. She lifts her eyes to the far mountains, to the deep places where the earth hides secrets. And she goes to the one who first spoke the prophecy, seeking some way to finally break it. Gaia listens to her daughter's whispered plan, and slowly the ancient earth begins to smile. In the dark between them, a plan takes shape that will one day crack the world open. The 6th child is coming soon, and this time the hungry father will swallow something else entirely. One mother refuses to lose again. Rhea walks the cold halls of Cronus, one hand pressed to the swell of a 6th child. She has watched 5 children vanish down her husband's throat, and she will not watch a 6th. Every night, the king counts his fears, certain one of his own will one day unseat him. So he waits by her chamber door, patient as stone, hungry as the dark between the stars. Rhea goes to Gaia and Uranus, the ancient powers who know how thrones truly fall. They whisper a plan into her grief, a way to cheat the swallowing king at last. Before the birth pangs come, she slips from the sleeping palace under a moonless sky. She runs south over black water toward the green shoulders of the far island of Crete. There, high on Mount Ida, the earth opens into a hidden cave veiled by ivy and shadow. In that secret dark, entirely alone, Rhea brings her last child into the world. She names him Zeus, and for one trembling moment, she simply holds her son close. But the king will expect his child, and an empty cradle means a hunted mother. So Gaia offers her a stone, smooth and heavy, shaped almost like a swaddled newborn. Rhea wraps the cold rock in soft blankets, tucking the folds around its blank stone face. She kisses her true son once, then leaves him to the mountain and its deep silence. Back to the palace she flies, the false bundle heavy and lifeless in her arms. Cronus waits upon his throne, and his eyes gleam the instant she steps back inside. She holds out the wrapped stone, her face a still mask over a hammering heart. He snatches it, greedy, never looking, never pausing to feel the wrongness of its weight. In one motion, he swallows, and the stone vanishes into the same dark as his children. The king leans back, satisfied, believing his crown safe for one more turning of the sky. Rhea bows her head low, hiding the fierce triumph burning behind her lowered eyes. Far away on Crete, in the darkened cave, a newborn cries out for his mother. But no mother comes. Only the mountain listens, and the mountain has already made its plans. A wild goat picks her way down the rocks, drawn to the small, hungry sound. Her name is Amalthea, and she bends over the child and lets him gently drink. Warm milk fills him, and his crying softens into the deep sleep of the safe. Unseen hands gather nectar and honey, feeding the god who does not yet know his name. But an infant's cry can carry far, and the father's ears reach clear across the world. So the guardians of the cave devise a wall of pure sound to hide him. Young warriors ring the cave entrance, bright bronze shields raised, tall spears gripped tight. When the baby wails inside, they begin to dance, stamping hard against the ringing stone. They clash their spears against their shields, a storm of ringing metal in the dark. The clamor rolls down the mountain and drowns every cry before it can escape. To any listening god, it is only wind and thunder over an empty mountain peak. And so, hidden inside the noise, Zeus grows through his first fragile secret seasons. He grows on goat's milk and honey, on secrecy and the deep patience of the earth. Season by season, the child strengthens, his small fists closing tighter around nothing yet. Down in the palace, the king sits fat and certain, the cold stone heavy in his gut. He does not feel the future gathering its weight on a far green mountain. But Gaia feels it. Rhea feels it. The great wheel has begun, quietly, to turn. And one day this hidden child will come home, and he will not come empty-handed. The stolen children are coming home. On a green island far from his father's reach, the hidden child grows fast and grows strong. A goat nurses him. Nymphs hide his cries. The wild mountain keeps his secret close. He does not know the throne yet, but he feels a hunger with no name. Rhea comes to him in shadow and tells him everything he was born to undo. She names the swallowed ones, 5 children lost inside a father's endless dark. And the boy who should have been the 6th listens, and the hunger finds its name. It is called vengeance. It is called family. It is called the throne. Gaia gives him a secret, a potion mixed from herbs older than the sky. 1 cup, she promises, and the swallower will give back all he stole. Zeus takes the vial. He is grown now, tall and quiet and terribly calm. He wraps himself in a servant's cloak and walks the long road home to his father's hall. The palace of Cronus rises gray and cold, a fortress built on swallowed things. Inside sits the king, who eats his heirs, watchful, sleepless, afraid of a child he cannot find. A new cupbearer appears at his side, face lowered, hands steady, offering wine. Cronus does not look twice. Why would a king fear the boy who pours his cup? Zeus pours. Into the dark wine he folds the potion and stirs the ruin in. He lifts the cup and holds it out, and his whole life narrows to this moment. The king takes it. The king drinks deep, careless, sure of his forever reign. For a breath, nothing. The hall is quiet. The cupbearer does not move. Then the king's hand trembles. The cup falls. Something ancient turns over inside him. Cronus rises, shuddering, as a light he swallowed years ago fights to climb back out. His silhouette buckles against the throne, and gold begins to pour from the shadow of his throat. First comes the stone, the swaddled rock that once fooled a god, ringing across the floor. It lands and rolls, the decoy that saved a world, hard proof of Rhea's old lie. Then the light keeps coming, and it is not stone, it is alive. A figure unfolds from the glow, grown and furious, the sea already roaring in his eyes. Poseidon stands in the hall, free, breathing air for the first time in his life. Another rises behind him, silent and gray, at home in the dark he was raised in. Hades steps out of his father, unblinking, a king of shadows before he owns a crown. Then a woman of white fire, proud and unbroken, her fury cold and patient. Hera takes her place among them, remembering every year spent inside the dark. Demeter follows, green and grieving, a warmth the swallowing could never fully kill. And last, the eldest, Hestia, gentle and steady, the first swallowed and the first forgotten. She steps into the light she has not seen since the hour she was born. Now they stand together, 5 reborn and 1 returned, 6 gods where a rock once fell. The cupbearer lets his cloak fall away, and the youngest son shows his father his face. Cronus stares at the child he tried so hard to end, standing whole before him. The rock did not save him. The rock only bought the time it took to grow. Somewhere in the deep earth, Rhea feels the swallowing undone and finally lets herself breathe. The king who ate a family sees that family stand and knows the wheel has turned. 6 pairs of eyes fix on the throne, and every one of them wants it torn down. But Cronus is not alone. Behind him stand the Titans, ancient and vast and unbeaten. 6 young gods against the elder powers of the world. The odds are cruel. This will not be won with a poisoned cup. This will be won with war. And Zeus remembers a whisper Gaia gave him of prisoners chained in the deep dark. Down below the world, forgotten smiths are waiting, and they know how to forge lightning. To win a war against gods, Zeus will have to go down and set them free. 2 mountains and 10 years of war. High above the ruined age, the young gods climb until the clouds break and the last peak waits. They plant their banner in the storm and name this mountain Olympus, their fortress against the old world. Across the split and shaking sky, another summit answers them, black and ancient. Othrys, throne of the Titans. There, Cronus stands, his crown heavy, watching the children who have dared to climb so high. Zeus turns to his brothers and sisters, 6 of them, against the whole order of the world. Hades, silent as stone. Poseidon, restless as tide, Hestia, Demeter, and Hera steady at his back. Then the first blow falls, and the heavens tear open from one horizon to the other. Cronus lifts his hand, and the Titans march, vast shapes that swallow the light of the sun. Atlas leads them, shoulders like mountain ranges, driving the elder host up the flanks of Olympus. Zeus meets them in the open air, and thunder splits across a sky already on fire. Poseidon splits the sea and drives a towering wall of water at the mountain of the Titans. Hades moves unseen through shadow, and even the elder powers feel a cold they cannot name. The fighting does not end in a day, not in a season, not in a single year. It grinds on and on, 10 long years of storm with no quiet dawn between them. Mountains crack like clay, seas pull back from their shores. The earth forgets how to hold still. Lightning answers spear. Wave answers flame, and neither side surrenders a single step of the burning sky. Yet not every Titan hungers for this war. Some of the elder powers turn their faces away. Oceanus stays among his endless rivers, refusing to raise a single hand against the rising young. Themis, who keeps the balance of what is right, will not close her fingers on a sword. And Prometheus reads the days to come like an open scroll, and they do not favor Cronus. Quietly weighing everything, he crosses the divided sky and stands beside the young gods of Olympus. But Atlas will not turn. He throws his whole vast strength against the gates of Olympus. But strength alone cannot break this deadlock. Blow for blow, the two mountains are perfectly matched. Zeus hurls himself against Othrys, and the black slopes throw him back down the length of heaven. Cronus drives hard at Olympus and finds the young gods planted like iron that will not bend. Year after year, the same walls, the same fury, the same locked and unbroken dark. Rhea watches from afar, the mother who once hid her son, praying the wheel might finally break. At last, Zeus stands upon his peak and sees the hard truth waiting underneath it all. This war will never end while both sides strike with the same matched and equal hands. He needs a weapon the Titans have never faced, a fire carried up from far below. Deep in the roots of the world, Gaia whispers to him of prisoners chained in the dark. Craftsmen with living fire in their hands, giants who each wield 100 restless reaching arms. Cronus locked them away himself long ago and left them forgotten in the pit beneath everything. The old king feels the ground shift. He knows his throne was never won by strength alone. He tightens his grip on Othrys and sets a heavy guard across the door to the deep. For Zeus understands now where this endless war will truly be lost and won. Not on bright Olympus, not on black Othrys, but far below in the prison of the lost. He turns his back on the battle and faces a door sunk in the roots of the world. And down in that ancient darkness, something enormous stirs and waits and listens for the coming light. Deep below, the war winners wait. High on a windswept peak, Zeus stands alone as the old Earth Mother leans close to speak. Gaia's voice moves through stone and root, carrying a secret older than the war itself. This war cannot be won by strength alone. It must be won by those already broken. Deep below, in a prison his father built, wait, the ones Cronus feared the most. Zeus listens. His jaw tightens. He turns toward the dark seam splitting the mountain's root. He descends past the reach of all light, down where the air grows thick and cold. Stairs of black stone spiral down forever, each step swallowed by a deeper hush. The walls weep with age. Something vast breathes in the distance, slow and patient. He reaches a door sunk in the roots of the world and pushes it slowly wide. Beyond it lies the pit, a wound in creation where his grandfather sealed the firstborn. Chains, thick as tree trunks, vanish into the gloom, taut, holding something enormous still. 3 shapes rise against the dark, each with one great eye burning like a forge. The Cyclopes, smiths of the first days, left to rust in silence by Cronus. Their single eye finds Zeus, and for a long moment neither god nor giants move. Beyond them, greater still, 3 mountains of shadow stir, and 100 hands unclench. The 100-handers, arms beyond counting, buried alive for the crime of being too strong. Zeus lifts his hand toward the chains, and the metal groans under his gathering will. Light cracks along the iron, the bindings shudder. The dark itself seems to hold its breath. The chains break. The sound rolls through the pit like the first thunder of the world. The Cyclopes stagger free, blinking, their great eye wet with a light long forgotten. The 100-handers rise to their full and terrible height, and the pit's ceiling trembles. Zeus does not flinch. He offers them not commands, but freedom and a place in the war. Gratitude moves in the giants like heat through cold iron, slow, then sudden, then blazing. The Cyclopes turn to their ancient forge, dead for an age, and breathe it back to life. Flame roars up the chimney of the world, hammers rise. The dark fills with orange light. From ore older than the sky, they draw a shape and beat it thin and sharp. Sparks fountain into the black as the first weapon takes its jagged, burning form. They forge a bolt of pure lightning, caged in metal, humming with the fury of storms. This they place in Zeus's hands, and the thunderbolt answers him like a living thing. Then a second labor. 3 long tines of dark bronze, a fork to split the sea. The trident, heavy with the weight of every tide, waits for a hand to claim it. And last, quieter, they shape a helm from shadow itself, a crown of pure night. Whoever wears it walks unseen, a gap in the world where a god should stand. 3 gifts for 3 brothers laid gleaming in the ruined dark of the pit. Zeus takes the bolt, its power climbs his arm, and something in him finally stands upright. He looks up the endless stair, toward the war and the father who waits above. Behind him, the giants gather, an army pulled from the grave, ready at last to march. The thunderbolt hums, the trident waits, the helm drinks the last of the darkness in. Zeus climbs toward the light, and the earth above does not yet know what is coming. But far above, on his cold throne, Cronus stirs and feels the first breath of fear. Now the sky itself comes apart. From the black wound in the earth they climb, the 100-handers, rising toward a sky they have not seen in ages. The light strikes them and they do not flinch, 50 heads and 100 arms apiece. Behind them, the Cyclopes surge upward, smoke still clinging to the hands that forge the weapons of gods. The earth remembers these children. It once swallowed, and it trembles as they pass. On the high ground of Olympus, Zeus waits, the thunderbolt burning cold and blue in his fist. He looks upon the monsters, his mercy set free, and he knows the final hour has come. Across the plain rises Othrys, and on it the Titans gather, ancient and vast and unafraid. Cronus stands at their head, crown heavy, eyes fixed on the small bright figure below. For 10 long years these armies have circled each other, and neither has ever broken. But today something new walks the field, and the ground itself has changed sides. Zeus lifts his arm. The signal falls. The monsters answer with a roar that splits the air. The 100-handers stride forward, and each of their 1,000 arms reaches down for the earth. Fingers close around stone. They grip the roots of the mountains themselves. And then, with a groan older than time, the mountains come loose. Whole peaks tear from the world, lifted high against a darkening sky. The Titans look up, and for the first time, Their faces show something like doubt. The first mountain flies, crossing the plain like a thrown pebble to land among them. The earth heaves. Dust swallows the horizon. The line of Titans buckles and breaks. Another comes, and then another, a ceaseless storm of stone falling out of the sky. 300 hands hurl 300 mountains faster than the eye can follow. The Titans stagger beneath the avalanche, giants drowning in a rising tide of broken rock. Where proud Titans stood, only shifting hills of rubble remain. Now Zeus rises into the storm, and the thunderbolt answers the falling stone. He hurls it. A white scar splits the darkness, and the very air catches fire. Flame races across the plain, and the sky turns the color of a forge. The forests of the world burn. The rivers hiss and rise as steam. Bolt after bolt falls, each one a piece of the sun torn loose. The sea boils, the land cracks, even the deep dark of Tartarus glows red below. Poseidon drives forward through the smoke, trident flashing, splitting the ground beneath Titan feet. Hades moves unseen, a shadow among shadows, and where he passes the enemy, simply falls. The three brothers fight as one, thunder and sea and darkness closing like a fist. On his throne of stone, Cronus watches his world come apart. He has ruled since the fall of his own father, certain no hand could reach him. Now the mountains he was born beneath are raining down upon his kin. He sees the fire crawl toward Othrys, sees his brothers buried, sees the tide turning at last. The crown he tore from Uranus grows heavy, and the old fear returns to his eyes. Somewhere in the roar he hears it again, the promise of the curse. A father falls to his child, always. The wheel turns, and now it turns for him. He looks to the children below he could not swallow, and at last he understands. Atlas rallies the Titans one final time, broad shoulders set against the falling sky. But the 100-handers do not tire, and the mountains do not stop coming. Stone piles upon stone until a new range rises over the buried and the beaten. The thunder fades. The dust begins to settle over a silent, smoking plain. Through the haze, Zeus turns his eyes toward the throne on Othrys that still stands. Cronus is alone now, his army gone beneath the rock, his reign hanging by a thread. The younger god begins to climb, thunderbolt in hand, toward the father of them all. On his cold seat the elder king waits, and for the last time he is afraid. For the losers, there is only the pit. The thunderbolt falls, and the sky tears open white above the elder king's cold and trembling throne. For one long heartbeat, father and son stand measuring each other across the ruined and smoking hall. Then the light takes Cronus, and his long shadow bends backward across the shattered stone. The war is over. The Titans feel it in their bones before their pride will let them speak. Across the scorched plain, their proud banners sink one by one into the drifting smoke. Zeus stands above the broken seat, thunder still humming and crackling inside his lifted fist. Behind him climb his brothers, Poseidon and Hades, faces hard and bright with the victory. The elder gods gather what strength remains, but the mountains themselves have turned against them now. The sky gods press their advantage, and the last strongholds of the Titans crumble into ash. Gaia watches from the deep earth, silent, as the children of her children fall. One by one, the Titans are taken, their great arms bound in chains that will not break. Atlas is dragged forward, shoulders vast, glaring hatred at the young gods who wring him. The victors march their prisoners toward the very edge of the world, where light gives out. There the ground simply ends, and beyond it yawns a darkness older than the sky. This is Tartarus, the pit beneath the world, deeper below the earth than heaven rides above it. A cold wind rises from the chasm, carrying the silence of a place no dawn has touched. The Titans slow at the brink, and even their fury falters before that endless drop. Zeus lifts his hand, and the first of them is cast down into the waiting dark. The figure falls, shrinking, swallowed, until even the eye can follow it no more. Drop a stone from that lip, and it will fall for 9 long days and nights. On the 10th, it strikes the floor, and the sound never climbs back to the top. No light lives down there, no warmth, only the slow breathing of the buried dark. One after another, the elder gods go over the edge, silhouettes dwindling into the deep. Cronus is brought last, the crown gone, the scythe gone, the terror of ages undone. He looks up once at his youngest son, the child he swallowed and could not keep. Then he too is given to the dark, and the wheel of his reign closes. Down they go, the old rulers of the world, into a night that has no floor. The gods raise walls of bronze around the pit, seamless and cold and taller than mountains. Poseidon sets the great gates, and their hinges groan like the grief of the deep earth. The bronze doors swing shut, and a boom rolls out across the emptied and silent world. The world above shudders once at the sound, then holds its breath in the sudden stillness. Behind them, the Titans are sealed, kings without kingdoms, prisoners of the suns they made. But a prison needs its keepers, and Zeus has already chosen who will stand the watch. Up from the shadows rise the 100 Anders, mountainous, each with 50 faces and 100 arms. Once these giants languished in the same dark, and they have not forgotten who freed them. They take their places at the gates, 3 watchmen for the ruin of an age. 100 hands apiece, ready to hurl back any Titan who dares to climb toward light. No key exists for these gates, and no mercy waits behind the watchers at the door. Here they will stand while ages turn above them, faithful, sleepless, patient, beyond all counting. The pit is sealed, the war is won. The old order lies buried beneath bronze and stone. Above, the smoke thins, and a strange new quiet settles over the wounded and waiting earth. Zeus looks out over the silent battlefield he has won, and finds the victory strangely cold. The children have thrown down the fathers, exactly as the fathers once threw down their own. And somewhere in the silence, Gaia turns her ancient face away, and her grief begins to harden. For the mother of all has not forgotten her buried children, and a mother's wrath is slow. Some punishments never end. High on Olympus, the young gods rest at last, yet judgment still hangs unfinished over the broken world. The war is won, but the losers must be sentenced, and Zeus, the new king, does not forgive. Down in the smoking ruin of the battlefield, the defeated Titans are dragged one by one into the light. Among them stands Atlas, the strongest of them all, the general who led the Titan charge against heaven. He never fled the field. He fought to the last hour, and now he waits, unbowed, for his doom. Zeus looks upon him without a trace of mercy and speaks a sentence heavier than any iron chain. Atlas will carry the weight of the sky itself, forever, out at the lonely western edge of the world. They march him to the rim of everything, where the gray sea spills off into endless cold mist. The heavens come down upon his shoulders, a vast, crushing weight of cloud and star and freezing dark. His knees buckle, his spine bends like a bow, the whole dome of the sky presses slowly down. He braces, he holds, and somewhere in that first long hour he understands the holding will never end. Day and night, the endless weight grinds down into him, and still, above him, the sky does not fall. He is no warrior now. He is a pillar, a silent shape standing forever between the earth and heaven. But not every Titan stood with Atlas on the losing side of this terrible war. Prometheus, the clever one, had read the shape of the future and chosen the winning side early. He fought beside Zeus in the great battle, and for a while he walks free among the gods. Yet Prometheus loves a small and weaker thing, crawling in the cold mud far below shining Olympus, mankind. Shivering in the dark, hungry and afraid, with no gift of the gods to keep them warm. And Zeus means to keep them exactly so, small and blind, and easy for a king to rule. But Prometheus climbs in secret to the high hearth of heaven, where the sacred fire forever burns. He hides a single glowing ember deep in a hollow reed and slips quietly back into the night. Down the long mountain he carries it, a stolen star cupped and guarded against the hungry dark. He gives the fire to mankind, and across the whole dark earth 1,000 tiny lights bloom awake. From the cold height of Olympus, Zeus looks down and sees those new flames flickering to life below. His face turns to storm, for a king always knows a gift of power the moment he sees one. Fire is warmth, yes, but fire is also the forge, the blade, and the courage of men to rise. Prometheus has armed the very creatures the king wished to keep forever kneeling in their darkness. The punishment Zeus chooses is not death, for death would come too quickly and count as mercy. They carry Prometheus far away to a bare and windswept mountain at the very edge of the world. There, they bind him fast to the naked rock, his arms spread wide beneath the burning open sky. And each gray dawn a great eagle comes, its wide shadow sweeping slow across the cold stone. It feeds upon him through the day, and by night his body knits whole and the pain begins anew. So the torment renews itself with every single sunrise, endless as the slow turning of the years. Yet Prometheus never once screams for pardon. He endures the eagle, and he guards a single burning secret. For he alone knows a thing that even mighty Zeus does not, a fate the king cannot see. A prophecy of one more child still to come, one more son born to cast a father down. Two titans broken at the far edges of the world, one holding up the sky, one holding his silence. And far below them both, in the deep and buried dark, Gaia's slow grief is hardening into a plan. The same wheel that tore down Uranus, then Cronus, has not yet finished its patient, grinding turn. It only waits, quiet beneath the bright new throne, for the next hand that dares reach for the crown. And the gold becomes a memory. The gold is gone now. The age that shone is only a story the old ones tell. Fields that once gave fruit without asking now wait for the plow and the turning season. Men remember a time when no one grew old, when the earth simply gave and gave. They call it the Golden Age, and they call it lost, and both of these are true. Far past the last edge of the sea lies a country no storm has ever found. Soft light falls there on gentle meadows, and the wind that moves the grass carries no cold. The rivers run slow and warm, and the fruit hangs heavy on untended trees. Here, Cronus comes to rest at last, the great scythe laid down in the tall grass. The king who once swallowed his children sits quiet now beneath a kind and steady sun. No throne, no hunger, no listening for the thing that creeps up close behind him. He who feared the future has been given a country with no tomorrow left in it. And this, perhaps, is the only mercy the turning wheel ever offers a fallen king. Back on the bright peak of the world, Zeus sits upon the throne he stole. Below him the sky is his, the wide sea his brother's, the dark below his brothers too. He has bound the old ones deep and split the whole world cleanly into three. He wears the very crown his father wore and his father's father long before. And he remembers the cave, the goat, the wrapped stone in his father's hand. He remembers that he rose because a father could not hold the thing he feared. So Zeus watches now. Every child, every whisper, every shadow that leans at the door. Themis leans close, and warns of a son who would grow greater than his father. The king hears the same low music his father heard, drifting toward him from far off. He tightens his grip. He always tightens his grip, and it has never once worked. Somewhere in the dark folds of the world, a new child is being born tonight. A small cry rises in a small dark room, and no one yet knows its name. Its mother does not know what it will grow to want, and so she is unafraid. But the wheel knows. The wheel has always known since the very first crown. Uranus fell to Cronus. Cronus fell to Zeus. The old pattern never tires. Gaia watches it turn, the oldest mother, patient and silent as the ground itself. She has seen every crown lifted high, and she has seen every crown come down. Kings believe they are the end of the story. They are only the next turn of it. Can any king escape the curse? That is the question the whole waiting world asks. And the answer sleeps in a far country where one weary king finally did. Cronus escaped it only by losing all of it, by giving up the throne entirely. The crown itself is the curse. To hold it is to fear the hand that takes it. Zeus will never let it go, and so Zeus will never once truly rest. That is the price of the mountain, the price no father ever learns in time. The Golden Age was not lost to any war. It was lost to simple wanting, lost to the first hand that closed around a crown and would not open again. And still the child cries in the dark, and still a mother holds it close. And still, somewhere high above, a father lies awake, listening hard for coming footsteps. The wheel turns. It turned before the gods. It will go on turning long after them. This is the shape of power. Not a line that rises, but a circle that returns. Every crown in this world is torn from a father by his own waiting child. The only king to escape the curse is the one who stopped being a king at all. Far off in the gentle country, Cronus sleeps and does not dream of any throne. The wheel turns. Every father waits for the son who ends him.